Hello everyone. It's Gina Blum with Rembrandt and Rose. Welcome to May. Well, most of you know that this is when our summer season really starts in California, because we're kind of spoiled like that. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to do this adorable American flag heart. I thought it was quite appropriate for the time. Kind of fun, summery. Start off our holiday season of Memorial Weekend and 4th of July, and this will also take you into Labor Day. So if you like patriotic stuff like I do and like a lot of us do, I'm going to teach you how to do this darling little American heart flag. So as you see, I've got this big heart, and I know it may look a little intimidating, but you can always use a tracer for that, and we'll talk about that later. But the first things first, we're gonna start getting our canvas priming tone, first layer. We are going to imitate a board. So what does this board look like? Well, it looks like an old board, right? Like a rustic looking board. How did I get that? Well, I kind of had fun with it. I had to put 2 layers on it though, and it goes really, really fast. But let's talk about the integrity of our painting and the integrity of the object we're trying to imitate. So a board can be slats going this way, or they can be slats going this way. It just depends what you want to do. I happen to find it easier to go this way when I'm painting. For me, you do what you want to do. How did I get this color? Well, it's mostly white, and it's got brown in it and some black. And if you're not too careful, you can kind of have all those colors blend together and it just looks tan. So what do you have to do? You have to step back, you have to take a look. You have to look at what you're doing and not overpaint. And this is a very good lesson in knowing not to overpaint. So we're gonna start off, I've got watered down white paint. I'm gonna go ahead and water down a little bit of my brown. My white is still going to be my primary, and my black, I'm going to use very little black for myself. You may want a little bit more grayish color or more gray color on your board, and that's totally cool because when water hits a board, it looks kind of grayish, doesn't it? So I'm going to take a very, very big chunk of white paint, watered down white paint, with some brown and a teeny bit of black. Just a dot of black. So what happens is my brush is technically triple loaded. I've got 3 colors on here, right? And again, I'm gonna stay with the integrity of what I'm painting. Yay! Back and forth. You guys ready? We're gonna rock and roll. All right. So here I go. I've got my brush flat. I'm covering a big surface. I'm gonna stay in one area at a time and work my way down. Look at the tone of your canvas, because remember, we're going to put 2 coats on this because you do see this board really well. But you notice I'm going just like this. Now, if I have these different colors in my brush and I'm going, they're all going to go to one color. I want to see some black. I want to see some brown. I want to see some white. So I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep loading my brush with all 3 colors. Now, if I happen to get like too much white or too much brown or too much black, what am I going to do? Well, next time I'm just going to take a little bit less. So again, I'm going to move across here, and I'm not pushing hard, you guys, but what I'm trying to do is get these different levels of color in here so it looks like a worn out board. That is what I want it to look like. Tapping in my water, making sure my paint is gliding. Remember, your paint may not be as thin as mine, and that's why I use more water, because my paints are super thick. I mean, super, super thick. So I have to water them down while I'm going. There we go. And remember, I'm trying to keep my brush relatively straight. I'm not angling or going this way, or I'm not going down here. I'm doing wet on wet blending. If I want a little more lightness in my board, what am I going to do? I'm going to grab some white. There we go. I'm not cleaning my brush. You notice that? I'm just loading different colors. I'm running out my brush. See, I have not that much paint on there. So when I reload, I'm going to do another little combination of color. Maybe I'll use just a teeny bit more black. There you go. And I'm just going to get this on here. I'm going to cover it really well. And when I come in to do the second coat, it's going to be a lot easier for me because I have good coverage. So remember, your canvases that you get normally, mostly from any store, even a craft store. Doesn't matter where you get them. They're usually gesso primer, but that's not really a good primer. You want to make sure that your first coat of paint is actually used as a primer, a toning layer, and everything else you put on your canvas is going to flow really nicely because you've got a nice little coat on here. So let's keep rocking our board here. I'm going to keep working, you keep working, and when we're done, we'll dry and we'll go to the second coat. Okay, so I've got my first coat dried. I'm looking at it. I want you to look at your coat too. And I see I've got a lot of black. Of course, I need a second coat. It just doesn't work unless I have a second coat. So what I'm gonna do, and what I want you to do, is I want you to see what tone you like on your canvas. I really like this. I don't know, I did it a few months ago. It was actually set up for a veterans fundraiser because we support the veterans always. And I thought that'd be kind of a cool painting. And of course, with the pandemic and all this other fun stuff, we're not gonna be able to do that. So if you get a chance, donate to your veterans. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool too. So I'm gonna go ahead and start my second coat. And what happens on my second coat? Yep, I get so excited because it's really so much prettier with the second coat. I am going to load my brush with white again. And remember, my paint's watered down. Yours may not be. Make sure you don't have a drippy brush and be intentional. The first coat, you don't have to be so intentional. The second coat, you have to be intentional. You have to really look at stuff and see what you like. See the light and dark, see the tones. If you like a little more brown, if you like a little more black, it doesn't matter. You like a little more white, totally cool. And you may not have even done a board with browns. You may have done a whitewash board, which is kind of cool too. And I can show you how to do that too. So here we go. I've got my brown again and my white and a little bit of black. I'm gonna use a little bit less black this time for myself. So I'm coming in here and I'm gonna do the same process over again. Now you may have put plenty of paint on there and you may love your board, AKA canvas, really well. Just leave it then, don't worry about it. Speed the video up and get to the next step. But me, I need to do a second coat. So here we are. I think that the second coat, oh my gosh, I just get so excited with the second coat. I'm such a weirdo that way. Here's the deal though, if you wanted to make it look a little whitewashed, you can do that. So the other thing, before I forget to tell you, I did do all my edges on that first coat, just so you know. And the other thing you need to think about too is that if there's something right here you don't like on this board, do you need to worry about it? Yes or no? Well, no. You're gonna put the heart right here. So keep that in mind. Don't worry about all this little stuff where your heart's gonna go. Don't get freaked out about something that's gonna be covered up with something really cute. Does that make sense? And I try to tell people that too, because a lot of people get so like, oh my gosh, I gotta have all this. No, don't worry about it. And the other thing too is you can touch up a little bit too after we get our heart on here, and we'll talk about that as well. So you get your second coat on, I'll get my second coat on, and we'll both be happy, and we'll come back dry. How about that? Okay, so we've got our second coat on. I'm liking my canvas much more. It's got a lot of paint on there. Looks a lot richer, a lot more depth. I like the tone. And I want to show you how to put these little lines in and the knot holes. Super easy, super easy. So give your brush a little rinse and a little squeeze. Again, you want a skinny brush because we're doing a skinny line, right? And people rush this all the time. Don't rush it. You can do it with a small brush if you want, but I want to teach you how to do it with the big brush. I've got moisture in my brush, but I don't have that much. So what I do is I get to the edge of my palette and I have got a skinny mini brush. Skinny brush, very skinny brush. And I'm gonna kind of figure out, I've got 1, 2, 3 slats here, right? So you can take your chalk if you want to be really perfect about it. I don't want to be perfect, it's a painting. And I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it to see where I want my lines. So I know that I'll probably put one right here and probably one about right here. Just give myself a little guide. I know my heart's going here, so I don't have to go all the way across. In fact, I even look at this right here. I guess I didn't even notice that before. But you see, I've had this painting done for a long time. I could even go right here on this one and just go like that. So it looks like it is part of the board, right? So here I go. You guys ready? I'm not gonna do a full line. I'm gonna make it a little bit sketchier, broken up very softly. Do you have to do it in black? No. Do it in the color you want. I don't know what color tone you did. So let's see, we're about right here, right? Don't worry if it's fatter or smaller. You don't want it to be looking too perfect. So it's wood. You know, it's supposed to look rough, right? It's supposed to look rough. Don't overthink this. If you totally mess it up, what are you gonna do? If you see that you don't like something, take your paper towel. Now the other thing I wanna tell you too is if you don't want it as dark, you know I've got black on this brush, I can grab just a teeny bit of white and I can just touch it with a teeny bit of white right on it. And then it changes everything. So like right here, just put a little piece, I don't know, a little paint of white, and it gives it a whole different look. And how long does it take me to do that? About a second. But I think about it first. I mean, again, I paint all the time. This is what I do. You don't probably paint all the time. So I'm trying to give you some hints. So there you go. You can change it up just a little bit, put a little bit of white highlight in there, and stop. Now, I'm gonna show you another trick. I rinsed my brush just so I wouldn't get paint all over me. I am going to use the booty of my brush, the bum of my brush. That is gonna make me a perfect little dot. So I'm going to dip the bum of my brush in the water. I'm going to swirl it in some black paint. And now, I'm gonna make a pretty cool circle with that. I'm gonna make a couple little knots. I'm gonna put one right here. Push on my canvas and a little drag on it. Just a little drag, teeny little drag. Maybe put one right here. Okay, so I've got my little knot holes in there. What do I have to do to this brush? Well, let me tell you people, you better wipe it off because you're gonna get paint all over yourself. I've kind of given myself that little mole right there sometimes. I don't pay attention, so pay attention to your brush. So I'm pretty happy about this. I'm probably gonna put a little white highlight on one of these knots just because it looks kind of cute. But here comes the tricky part. How do you do that heart? Well, I'm a freehander, and most of you know that know me, you know I make you freehand, because I mean like that. It's really because I want you to learn, and I don't want you to be afraid to draw. With that being said, you can figure out how to do a tracer. I'm gonna get a piece of paper. I'm trying to reach for it right here somewhere. I just have a piece of paper, okay? And yeah, it's printed off my computer with stuff. Oh, look at that. Arc de Triomphe, yes. It's one of my French lessons I had with my kids. So here you go. How do you make a heart? Do you remember doing this when you were little? Yes, of course you do. Cut out your heart. I'm just gonna cut it out and make myself a little pattern. Now, I may not like what I come up with here. I may freehand mine, which I'm probably gonna freehand mine because I'm just a weirdo like that. Okay, so here we go. I've cut out a little heart. Ta-da! This is my heart. This is your guide. You don't have to have a heart this small. You can trace on the outside diameter when you're tracing. Does that make sense? So here we go. I'm gonna show you guys right here. Here it is, right? There's your heart. Now, what I want you to think about is placement. And you know, I talk about placement a lot, is where are you putting your object, your main subject in your painting? This is our main subject right here, our little heart. So do you want it centered? Do you want it off-centered? I personally like this thing a little bit more centered. I do a lot of off-centered stuff too, but this guy needs to be centered. So look at your canvas, don't measure, just give it an eye. Look straight on at your canvas and make a little tick mark, okay? I'm gonna try to do mine this way. Okay, that's about center, I think. This is about center. And then I want to see how much of my border, my margins do I want on my heart. How big do I want my heart? So I just kind of gave myself a little border here. This has got a bigger border, this is a little bit smaller border, this is not exactly centered. Is that okay? Absolutely. Maybe I want to take this in a little bit more, but that's why we use chalk, right? To kind of give us an idea of where we're going. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our little subject matter up here, our little heart. And I don't know how big a paper you used or what you did, but please don't overthink this, dear Lord, all right? So start following your heart. This will give you an idea of where to go. There we go. There's my border. Maybe I want my heart bigger, but that's okay. It's just play until you like it. That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna leave you with this. There you guys go. I'm just gonna show you mine so you can see. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can even use a plate to center yourself better. Okay, so there's my heart. Does that make sense? Is it the same size as this? No. Does it look exactly the same as this? No. So now I've got kind of a start. If I want to make it bigger, I can make it bigger. If I want to bring it out a little bit more, I can just sketch it. And what I want you to do is to play. I want you to get this figured out. See how big you want your heart. Don't overthink it. It's not exactly centered, but it's okay. I'm gonna take my little paper towel, my damp paper towel, and I'm gonna erase this line so I don't get confused. But I want you to take a look, I want you to step back. I'm going to step back from my canvas so I can see if it's basically symmetrical and lined up on my canvas. And when we come back, we're gonna get this all filled in with white. Okay, so I've kind of adjusted my heart a little bit. Does it look different than this one? You betcha. Yeah, doing my little Minnesota thing. You betcha. Remember Bobby's World? Yeah, my kids used to watch that and make fun of me all the time. But you really do have to get your pattern and get an idea of where you want to go. Now the cool thing about painting is if when you start to paint and you decide, oh, you know, I want that a little bit skinnier, I want that a little bit whiter, you can do that. You're in control of it. So I'm going to start with my white paint, all right? And I want to teach you how to make these nice straight lines. It's a little tricky. The side of my brush is gonna be my magic. This will trim my line pretty much perfect. See how nice and clean it is? I'm not going like this. There's no way in heck. Look at these lines that I did that way. They're not gonna be straight, all right? So what you need to do is get this baby outlined. Watch me again. Got my brush turned, it's flat. I'm letting the side of that brush, and it takes a little practice, guys. Don't get too intimidated by it. Just keep practicing. In fact, I'll tell you another little secret, is that if you're a little intimidated by it, oops, I dropped some paint somewhere. Start not at your border. So watch me. I know this is my line here. I just want to practice this line. See how clean that line is there? How nice it is? So do the whole thing. And I'm gonna stay with the integrity of the object I'm painting, which is circular, right? The heart is circular, so I'm not gonna go like this right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and get this first coat on. It will help me practice my brush strokes. My little C and big C. Gotta get this primered, right? There we go. Let me get this all filled in, and I'm gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna come back and put that second coat of white on it, because again, that second coat of white is really important. That's what's gonna make it right. All right. Alrighty, so I put another coat on here, yay. And I looked at it and I thought, doggone it, I gotta do another coat. So I put another coat on. So I actually have 3 coats on here because I wanted it to look nice and clean. If you're noticing when you're painting, you're going, doggone it, it's not covering good. Make sure it's covered good, because when we get to the stripes, you don't wanna have to put a white stripe in, right? You just want it to have this white be your stripe. Does that make sense? So I'm looking at this guy here, and I will tell you, red paint does not play well with others. So you have to be really, really careful. We're going to do our red paint last. Do not trust the red paint. I'm telling you, it does not play well with others. But you have to kind of figure out where you want your stripes and how many stripes you want. Obviously, you're not going to be able to fit 13 on here unless you do them super skinny. And I personally, I don't know, I didn't think it looked good. I played with it a little bit before when I originally did the painting, but I did know what I wanted to do. I wanted this stripe up here, and I'm just chalking a little line right here. I wanted that red, and I wanted this bottom one red. Why? Well, because on our flag, obviously you all know we have 13 stripes. It starts with red and it ends with red. And I know I did want to do that. So when you chalk out your stripes, I want you to be super careful, okay? You can start off by getting your blue here. I'm gonna just do it just like this. This is gonna be a red stripe right here. I know that. And this is the other funny part I want to tell you, is when you start painting, oh my gosh, don't when you start the red, and we're gonna do the blue first. When we start the red, dear God, do not put the red on the wrong stripe. Because we've done that too. And that's why I want you to be really mindful when you start painting. So remember, like right here, I'm looking at this and they don't look exactly right. So I know maybe I'm gonna make this one just a teeny bit bigger. I'm going to try to get my stripes about the same size. So I'm gonna chalk and then I'm gonna step back and check it out. Double check again my goodies here, and what I want you to do is we're gonna start with the blue. So get your brushes ready to do the blue paint. Okay, we're going to the blue, yay! I love working with blue, one of my favorite colors to work with. I'm gonna water my paint down a little bit. And I'm actually gonna put some white in my blue too, because you guys know I usually double load my brush, because that's what gives me a little pop. But I want my blue to be relatively dark. You may not, I do. I know I'm gonna put 2 coats, but I also moved to my small brush, and there's a reason I moved to my small brush, because I just felt a little more comfortable maneuvering around all the little curves on my heart. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing that I did with the big brush. When I turned my brush around and I, bam, went around again. Gonna do the same thing. Gonna be very careful. And if you're like me and you have a nice 1-inch brush, I'm very adept at working with it. Yes, I do it all the time. What I find really interesting about this painting is, guess what? It's really easy to do these stripes with the big brush because it's about the same size. So I kind of like that. So here we go. I am going to make my first line here. And remember, I'm gonna have this line come here, and this is all gonna be blue. I've gotta be super careful. Super careful. Take my brush and turn it to the side. Remember, I'm letting that side of my brush make my line straight, and I have to kind of come in here a little bit closer so I don't mess up. And remember, if you do mess up, just wipe the darn paint off. This is all dry under here. You can just mess around with it. All right, getting it done. I'm gonna put this coat on all the way, and then I'm gonna go dry, and I'm gonna put a second coat on. Okay, so I've got my second coat on my blue. It dried, it looks really pretty. I'm gonna be a cheater today. I'm using my tracer from my store. You know, this is something, I think Lauren and I had this for the kids when we did kids camp, and there's a lot of ways you can make stars. You can even pull it off the internet and then cut it out, make yourself a little pattern. I like to freehand stuff, but I do want you to know that you can cheat a little bit. It's okay, because it's hard sometimes when you're doing like stars. Those are probably some of the hardest things to do because of the way the shapes are. So what I'm going to do, I want my star to be bigger than this. You can tell I freehanded that sucker. But I'm gonna kind of get it lined up here. Oops, I'll go this way so you can see it better. You know what's even funny? You could even get stuff like this and even glue it on your canvas if you want to, and just have a little mixed media on your canvas if you feel like playing. So here's my star. Gonna stick it there, and I'm going to take my chalk and trace it. There we go. Hello, G. I'm not a good tracer, as you can see. It's kind of a pain in the butt for me. That's why I like to freehand stuff, but that's all good, right? It's all good. Now, if you don't like what you traced, what are you gonna do? You're gonna cry? No, just erase it. Just erase it, guys. Don't overthink this, please, dear Lord. It's just a painting. Have fun with it. There we go. Okay, that's looking okay. Like I said, I apologize. I'm not a good tracer and I'm not a good sewer either, but that's beside the point. Let me see if that looks okay. Okay, so after like 30 times, now I'm happy because I had to retrace it a few times. Maybe you did too, or maybe you got it right when you got it right the way you liked it the first time. I obviously didn't. So now I thought, you know, it's kind of cute. I put it at an angle, something a little bit different than what I did over here. I'm gonna take my white paint. I've got it watered down just a teeny bit, and you are gonna have to put a couple coats on this. I'll tell you right now. Why do you think? Well, it's going against a blue background. It's dark, right? So, do you remember how I taught you guys how to turn your brush so you can line things up? It's the same thing here. So you really don't care what's going on here, do you? Of course not. What you really care about is getting the line straight on your star. It's harder. In fact, I'm seeing myself turning my brush this way a little bit, and I'm gonna start filling it in. And of course, I need to put a couple coats on here. You know where else where I need to put some white is on these little guys here. A teeny bit of white there, maybe a teeny bit of white there, and just a teeny bit of white there. Just gives it a little more oomph. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this coat on here, and I'm going to need a second coat at least. I'm probably gonna have to do a third coat, so. Okay, so I put like 3 coats on that star because I'm like really weird about seeing my color through there. And I'm going to erase that chalk so I don't get confused. I know that's nice and dry. I haven't put the little white dots on, but I'll tell you, I do that on the bum from my brush, just like I did these guys. So I use the bum of my brush, so I'm not so worried. What I am worried about is starting this red. So when you start your red, I want you to be way careful. If you want your red a little bit darker, I want you to go ahead and touch your black just a little bit, if that's what you want. Stay away from what color on your palette. Who's gonna tell me? What happens when you mix red and white? Well, you get pink. You get pink. So I personally don't want pink stripes on my flag. I would like it to be a nice deep red. So if I want a little contrast in my paint, which I usually recommend you doing, I just put a teeny bit of black, like a pepper spot, just like when we're making a light gray and a contrast with white with gray. It's really the same way with red. If you put just a little speck, you're gonna see it on your first coat, but your second coat is gonna get cleaned up. And it just gives it a little contrast. So please, dear Lord, you can do this with the big brush or you can do this with a small brush. But whatever brush you do it with, you need to be careful. You need to go slow. Make sure that you don't have a lot of water in your brush. I'm gonna be extra careful because, do you guys remember what I say when you got too much water in your brush? Yeah, you get tears on the canvas, and we don't want any tears of red because remember, red just kind of pollutes everything. It just makes a mess of everything. So I'm gonna start off with this stripe here. Now I'm gonna give you guys a little hint, okay? I'm gonna dot my stripes so I don't mess up and not paint the right stripe. So I know this is red, okay? This is white. Notice I didn't touch my brush there. This is red, white, red, white, red, white. So now I know I'm not gonna jack myself up. So take your time, and I'm just gonna go really slow. Okay, so you're probably going, how in the heck are you gonna do that curve there? So a lot of you know I pick up my canvas all the time. I don't want you to worry about picking up your canvas. And also I want to point something out on my canvas. Do you see where my blue has not touched this part? You got a little bit of white there? I'm going to touch that up afterwards. I'm not going to freak out about it, but I'm going to jockey my canvas, all right? And I know I have this curve here. So I'm going to start off really slow. I might end up using my small brush too. Don't hesitate to bop back and forth on each brush, but I'm going to do the best I can. Very slowly, I'm almost there. And I'm going to fill this in just a little bit. So, looks pretty good. Not perfect as I want it. My second coat is where the magic's going to happen, but I wanted to show you how to do a stripe. And if you take your time, it's going to take you, it's probably the longest part of your painting because you really have to manage yourself and manage your brush pressure. And please, dear Lord, make sure you don't have a lot of water in that brush because I'm telling you guys, it's going to be like a big hot mess. So let's come back with the second coat ready to go. I want you guys to take your time. Okay, I'm sitting here dying because I forgot what a pain in the butt these red stripes are. So I've been really working hard at it. I bet you have been too. And it can be a little challenge. You know, this painting is like easy, but then it's like a thorn in your side with these stripes. So you may have to go back and clean up a little bit. I know I am. I've got 2 coats on here. It looks nice. I mean, it really does look good. The last thing I want to talk to you about is putting these little dots here. Now, do you have to do that? Well, it's not really the last thing. I have one more thing to talk about. Do you really have to do those dots? No, you don't. But I want to show you how. The bum of the brush again. So let me get my water and I'm going to swirl a little water here, swirl the bum of my brush inside of my white paint. Is it okay if my white paint has a little bit of blue? Oh yeah, it's totally cool. It looks nice it looks good. It looks good when you have a little color on there. So when you do these dots, please be careful. Don't stab your canvas, okay? Stop, stop, stop. Don't do that. You've got to have a little bubble on this brush, and when you push it on here, don't like push into your canvas. Remember, this is a canvas, it's not real wood. And put a couple dots just like that. The brush itself is not like painting, it's because I have a little bubble on my bum of my brush. And I'm just gonna go slow. That one's a little big. And if you don't like something, what are you gonna do? Remember, this is dry. You can wipe it off, so don't freak out. That one's a little big. I'm gonna leave it for now, just for time's sake. There we go. And just be kind of random with these dots. So I want you to work hard on this. And I wanna talk about the glitter. I put the glitter because I like glitter. I'm a girl, I like glitter, I like sparkly. I think it's fun. When you add glitter to anything, just make sure your paint is dry, all right? The glitter I used on that one is just from Michael's, okay? So I'm gonna keep playing here. I'm gonna wipe my brush off. I'm gonna grab some of my silver glitter and I'm gonna apply it to my brush. I wanna show you how to do that. It does take a couple layers. So again, you let it dry, then you put it back on, and it kind of gets chunky. It depends what kind of glitter you have. But you don't have to do the glitter. I just like the glitter. The other thing about the glitter too, you can even put some sparkly right here. But dear Lord, be careful with that red because it just goes everywhere if you haven't noticed. Yes, we've had a few little incidences today. We got red on here and red on my clothes and red on my nose. And that is why I do red last, because it's evil. It just doesn't play well with you. So let's see, what else do I need to talk about? You know what? I want to see your work. So if you are doing some YouTube videos with us, post them to our Facebook page. We would love to see your work, even if you do a little video or just a quick shot. And we'd love to hear some encouraging words. If the videos were helpful to you, I hope they were. I really do try to explain things and educate you and hopefully make you feel comfortable behind your brush. So I'm gonna grab the glitter, the silver glitter, and we'll be done. Okay, I've got a little folk art glitter. It's the real, like, thick one. And again, you don't have to use this one. I have the smaller one too. But I tell you, at Christmas, I put this on some ornaments and it looks so stinking cute. And so that's what kind of gave me the incentive to try to put it on my pretty little star here. So remember, just go slow. Careful when you put the glitter on, just because it's kind of chunky and it's kind of a pain in the butt. And the other thing I want to tell you, all glitter is not created equal. There is a silver kind of glitter that's a little bit gray. That's what I forgot what I was going to tell you. So be careful if you use the one that's a little bit smaller, because sometimes it has like a little gray undertone. And if you want this to be a little bit brighter, I would go with this kind of glitter. Like I said, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I don't know, just looks fun. And remember, you can always add different stuff to your paintings. You don't have to just stick to an acrylic medium, just like this. It's a glitter, right? Glitter. And if you want to put a few more sparklies here, you can. Or if you just want to sparkle up these guys, you can. We start that summer holiday with Memorial Weekend. We hope that you have enjoyed this video, this little flag. We'd love to see your interpretations of this flag. Remember, it's your painting. I just gave you some hints to work with. You can deviate however you want to. It's your artwork. Enjoy yourself, have fun, be well, and we'll see you soon. Cheers!